friends, it's Miss A from the Northeast Branch of the Reading Public Library, and it's time for another family night craft. So this week we're going to be making paper-mache penguins. This isn't necessarily a hard craft. This will actually take you a couple of days, so you should get started as soon as possible. And what you'll have in your go pack, 2 markers, paint markers, black and white, which I don't have right now because you won't use them until the last step. You'll also have paper wings, paper feet, paper beak, and googly eyes. And again, we're only going to see that in the last stage. But for me, this is day 1. So what I have is a balloon, which we'll use as the frame for our penguin. We're going to inflate it and put the paper around it. Newspaper we'll use for paper mache strips. Flour. You won't have a whole bag, you'll just have the amount of flour you'll need. And then you'll also need some sort of bowl, some water, and some sort of mixing implement. And that's all to make your paste. So I'm going to put the paste stuff aside for a second because the first thing that we're going to do is rip strips of paper. So it's going to be really loud in a second. I'll mute it, don't worry. But you want to open up your paper and using either scissors or just your hands, we're going to cut it into strips. I like mine to be about 1 inch, 2 inches wide. 1 inch is probably the most manageable because our balloon's not very big. So you want to tear your paper into a bunch of strips and then keep them to the side. Like this. And you might want to cut them in half so they're not quite so long. So let's get ripping. Okay, so I don't recommend throwing them in a giant pile like this, though actually I kind of do because it's very fun. But either way, I think this is enough strips to do my project. It's probably way more than I need. But I ripped up about 2 very old issues of the Reading Eagle. And it's not like a ton of paper because it is fairly thin. But yeah, so here is all of the paper strips I've cut. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to mix up our mixture for the paste. So I watched a video online where basically they recommended that you should have about as much water as you want paste. So you should do that in your bowl. This says, in my measuring bowl, I have a little less than 500 milliliters about of water. I've never done this before, so I don't know if it'll be enough. I'll report back. The thing is, if you make too little, you can just make some more afterwards, so don't stress. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add flour little by little until it reaches a gluey consistency. So you'll add a little mix, because remember, kids, you can add more flour, but you can't take it away. But the thing is, you have a faucet. If you add a little too much flour, just add a little bit of water. We'll get there. So I'm going to open up my flour bag. It'll come in Ziplocs for you, but I'm basically going to take a little at a time and add it in to make my mixture. And this is also probably a good time to make sure you have a tablecloth, or I'm just gonna lay down some extra newspaper here because this does get pretty messy. So you can see I have a little workspace I'm creating with some extra newspaper, not ripped up newspaper. I'm laying it down so this way it won't be a huge mess. Got my flour back. And it's time to add some little by little. All right, so little by little. Here we go. All right, this looks like it's done. Basically, you want it to reach like a cake batter consistency. My hands are gross. See, you can see the importance of the newspaper here. I do recommend actually using less water. You could probably use like 200 milliliters instead of like my 500 because I had to add so much flour to get here. But get this closer, you can see, I think, that this has like a cake battery consistency. If you've ever made a cake from a box mix, that's basically what we're working with here. All right, so we've got our strips, we've got our paste. Make sure you clean the spoon off pretty fast because it'll get nasty. But now that we've got our paste and our strips, the next step is going to be inflate the balloon so we can start the paper-mache process. All right, so I've got my balloon, so what I'm going to do is inflate it. I want a nice big penguin, so we'll see how big I can get this. And kids, if you can't inflate this, have an adult, parent, caregiver, big kid inflate this for you. Remember, however big this is however big your penguin's going to be. So don't get too ambitious and make it so giant that it pops in your face, but I think this is a good size for my penguin. So this is about how big it'll be, bigger than my head. And now you want to tie it off. Again, if you can't do this, have a parent, caregiver, adult, big kid tie this for you. So just make sure you get a good knot at the end of your balloon so that no air comes out. You can see mine here. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to be dipping strips of newspaper in my paste mixture and sticking them to my balloon. So let's do that now. I'm gonna pull up my sleeves. This will be messy. Oh, and one tip I wanted to give you guys that I forgot about before is when you're making your paste, if you have liquid starch, that works even better than water. So you make it the same way, but replace the water with liquid starch. I just use water because I know not everyone's going to have liquid starch laying around their house, but just a thought. So, my balloon's a little staticky, but I'm going to take a strip of newspaper, dip it in. Oh, it's pretty gross. Make sure you coat the whole strip. It'll look nice and gross. And then lay it on. And you can smooth it out with your hand so that it stays on well. This is somebody's neighbor. I'll warn everyone, this is pretty gross. Actually, it looks much less gross than it feels. And if you add too much glue to an area, the paste, you can take some dry paper and just lay it on top. So I think my balloon's all covered. What you want to do now is go around, make sure everything's as covered as possible. Try to wet down any ends. But we'll come back and do another coat tomorrow. I will say, newspaper, as you can see, newspaper is not the best choice. I would use a plastic tablecloth if I did it again. I'll probably do that tomorrow. So what you should do is take a piece of cardstock or a bowl or something that you can stand this up on so it doesn't stick to anything. And you're gonna leave it to dry overnight. All right, friends, so it's day 2 of making our paper-mache penguin. As you can see, the balloon first layer is nice and dry, but it's going to be a little brittle once the balloon pops or deflates. So what I'm going to do now is add another layer to this. I'm not going to film it because it's going to be the same exact thing as yesterday. So again, I'm going to take strips. I think my paper-mache mixture is still fine, so I'm just gonna mix it up a little, maybe add a little bit more water if it seems too thick, and then dip the strips and apply a second layer and let it dry overnight again. So I will check in with you back tomorrow morning. We're going to see how the balloon looks with a second layer, and then if it's dry, we are going to paint. Okay, friends, so now we have finished our 2 layers on our balloon. It should feel nice and hard. So what we want to do next is we are going to draw our penguin sort of face and body on and attach all these different parts. So these 2 pieces you see are the feet. They'll go on the bottom. Our beak, which will be a face, 2 eyes, and we also have 2 wings. Let's grab those. These big oval shapes. So what we're going to want to do is take this pointy part, the part where we tied off on our balloon, that'll be the top, because the head is smaller than the bottom of the body, and this bottom part will be where we'll put the feet under. So it'll be really hard to put feet under a point. You can try, it's your project, not mine, but I'm going to put it this way. Now it might start rolling around, so one thing you can actually do, life hack, you can take a piece of cardstock, or you could even take a section of toilet paper roll that you snip and make some sort of base, or you could use a bowl. A bowl might be a good option just to hold it upright. And now so the paint can dry, you might have to paint the top first, let it dry, then flip it over and do the bottom. Now if you have paint at home, white and black, it might be better to just use that paint. So paint is going to be a lot more opaque at first. Opaque means that you can't see through it. So it might only take 1 or 2 layers of that, and it'll go a lot faster because these are quite small. Now it was too hard to get paints into everyone's bags to make sure that they wouldn't leak or go through. Some acrylic paint. So what I've given everyone in their bags, and I'll try to use the same thing because I want to be fair. So it's a black Sharpie for the black part and white paint marker for the white part. So it says the instructions on the back of these markers. If you're confused, it's on there, but basically what you'll do is shake it up a lot before you use it, and then you'll see this tip. So what you want to do is sort of press it against a piece of paper up and down until you see that it's leaving a white mark on the paper. What you're letting it do is taking the paint from the back of the pen and it's slowly transferring it onto this sort of paintbrush nib at the end. So all we have to do then is start painting. I'm just going to grab something to prop up my balloon, and then I'm going to get started. And you should do the same. Day 3, everyone. So actually I've noticed that the black marker is actually pretty opaque. But the white marker, probably you'll need a couple tries, but you might be able to get away with just 1 run of the marker each time. But you can see I've drawn like a heart shape for the face. You can make it sort of look however you want. I didn't have a reference photo of a penguin with me when I did it, but I think it looks cute. And I'm going to make sure I at least color in all of my white paint first, because I think that'll take a lot longer than the Sharpie, which you can kind of have dry in a few seconds. And once the white paint's dry, that's when I'll add all the beak and googly eyes and stuff. So I'm going to keep coloring. And also admire my glue bottle earrings. Let's keep painting. Okay, so I think that's okay for now. You can still see through a little bit, as you can tell. So I'm probably gonna do a second coat later. As you can see, this piece went up a little bit, but the nice thing is that's exactly where I'm going to add the beak. So I really lucked out. If you find a lot of pieces that are coming up and you don't like the rustic look, you could always do another coat of paper mache and make sure you really sealed on the edges. Or you could just trim them off with a pair of scissors. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's a craft. Embrace the messiness, the happy accidents, as Bob Ross would say. But it's your project. Do what you want. Like I said, another layer of paper mache might do it, or you can just snip off some of the big edges with a pair of scissors. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and cover the rest of this bad boy with some black Sharpie, and then what I'm going to do is come back and add some more white paint to the face so it looks nice and solid, and then we'll add the different features. So, black Sharpie time. And the tips of the black Sharpie, it's a lot bigger, so it won't take quite so much time. Okay, so I've colored in every single black part that needed to be black. I'll warn you, it takes a long time, so like I said, I recommend doing it in parts, maybe having a friend help you out with another Sharpie or watching TV while you do this, because it will take a long time. And now I'm gonna go over with white paint marker, and do the whole face again. But I'm not going to record it because you've already seen me do it once. I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just going it over it again. If you're not picky, you don't have to, but you can see the newspaper still behind this, and I want this to be a good example for you, so I'm going to do it again. I will see you in a second. All right, so it looks like the white is dry. So now what we're going to do is I am going to take my beak and glue it on. Oh, I forgot glue. And there is no glue in your packs. If you need glue. If you don't have any at home from a previous pack, just come to the library, let us know. We have plenty of glue to give to you. I'm going to grab some and then we're going to stick this on. Okay, I have my beak and I have my glue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue all over the back side of this. I'm going to stick it onto the middle of the white part of my penguin's face. We're going to cover up this weird fin. It's apparently an ancient glue because I'm having to squeeze really hard. So if you see my hands trembling, that's why. Okay. Ow. So I'm going to put my penguin's mouth on, the beak. Pat, pat, pat. You might have to hold it down for a little bit because it's not going to lay flat. It has to be sort of curved. So just chill out a bit and hold this down, see if it curves a little bit more nicely. That looks okay. So now I'm going to take the eyes, and if you've done crafts this before, you probably know they are sticker eyes. So you just peel the back off like a sticker and then stick it right on. One. And then I'm going to add the second one. All right, so the penguin's face is done. I think I put them a little uneven, so he looks a little bit creepy. But now it's time to add the wings. I'm trying glue instead, but was obsessed. I put a lot of glue on this. This might have been a mistake. And I'm just going to hold it like I did with the beak. Give it that curve. The question of whether or not I put too much glue on, it's been answered. I did. Like Paper-Mache part 2. Alright, hopefully that stays. And now I'm going to do the other one. Take the glue. Here, I'll put it here so I can show you just how much glue I'm using here. Can you see? It's a lot of glue. But it worked on the other one, so. All right, we're gonna try it again on the other side. Fingers crossed. And then you hold it until it's somewhat more dry. I'm so happy that this worked. Don't use tape. Don't use tape, friends. It is not the answer for the wings. Use glue. Like a school glue or clear glue. That's the answer for the wings. You want them to be able to mold and stick right to the paper-mache project. So yeah, you want to put on glue and then hold it down until it dries a little. So now all there's left to do is add the feet. So I'm just going to do that again. I'm going to add some glue to the foot, just like in this section, because I want this to poke out. Then we're going to stick it onto the bottom of the penguin. I'm just going to tilt this boy up a little. I've named my penguin Fred. Hope you all think that's a okay name. If you like the name Fred, or if you have a different name, let me know in the comments. Oh no, it's falling. You'll have to hold this down too.
Yes.
The other one. But see, this is one of the nice things about having to do the socially distant programming. I really miss having you all here in the library with me, but we couldn't do things like this that take like 3 days to make and one night and family night in the meeting room. So we're gonna make the most of what we can do now that we couldn't do before. All right, so my face is on, the feet are on, the wings are on. So now what we're going to do, you see them right behind me. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to leave this to dry, and then when it's dry, it's done. All right, so that's it, friends. Our penguin's all dry. He's very cute, my friend Henry. His eyes might be able to stare right into your soul, so maybe don't face it towards your bed if yours looks as creepy as mine. But I'm personally proud of us all for doing this project. It takes some time, but it's nice and easy, and it's so cute for winter time. I hope you enjoyed this week. Let me know, give me a thumbs up on this video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. for another Family Night Crafts. Bye!